Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Jo and this is Joey Sewy. Now today we are going to take on sewing and sustainability. This is a huge subject, the subject of sewing and sustainability, and it's not going to be the last time that we touch on it, I'm sure. This is only going to be a short video, so we're not going to do everything, but I just thought I'd start the conversation, let you know my current thoughts and how it's been fitting in with my life right now, small part of the subject, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So to begin at the beginning, a few months ago I did a huge de-stash of my fabric, and there'll be links to those videos down below. And after that, of course, I was left with lots of fabric that I decided wasn't going to live here anymore, but was going to live somewhere else. And so at the end of that process I did some research into how to recycle fabric that is no longer usable for a sewist. So the things that were usable pieces, they were fairly easy to get rid of. But then I made a call out on social media about, okay, who wants, this is the kind of stuff I've got, who wants it? And in the end, all those bags of things, and there were bags and bags of scraps mostly, and small pieces, and yeah, all sorts of stuff, all sorts of stuff, old clothes, scraps from offcuts, threads. So mostly the large pieces either went to friends or went to the charity shop as reusable pieces. And then smaller pieces, I have a couple of friends who are teachers, so they came and had a huge rummage through everything and took away what was useful to them. And that was great because they were like, wow, this is treasure. And I was like, no, it's things I don't want. And that's the brilliant thing about recycling, is finding the person that wants the things that you don't want anymore. And then when I had exhausted that, there was a friend back where I used to live who was involved in a craft group, and in there was a woman who made things literally out of tiny little things, and she was willing to take anything, any tiny scraps at all, and she was going to make useful things out of them. And I went and visited her, and yeah, indeed, she was doing like micro patchwork or micro quilting with small pieces, and then she would make bags and things. So to have a big choice of colours and textures and fabrics to choose from was just a joy to her. So that is how, after my de-stash, I got rid of everything. Let's go forwards to now. And if you watched a couple of videos ago, I did a sewing room tour. And in that, because I promised I didn't tidy up and I didn't, so it meant that underneath my sewing table you saw my huge bin full of scraps. And since I did the de-stash, I have been much more mindful about what I keep and what I don't keep. So what I want to keep for myself is things that I am genuinely going to use. And if you want to see my rules about that, then you can have a look at my de-stash video, because I went through those quite clearly about how I defined and set boundaries for myself about what I was going to keep. And in short, it's to make small little fabric birds that I sometimes make, and to do pockets and facings. And so far that served me really well. But it's meant that quite a lot more that before I would have gone, oh, I don't know, there must be a reason to keep this, I can't possibly throw it away. I've been much more brutal and I've put it in my scraps bin. However, I haven't wanted that to go to landfill, because we don't want things to go to landfill, do we? It's just a waste. And I felt like there must be somewhere for it to go. And indeed, after a little bit of research, there was a viewer who commented down below, and the Love to Sow podcast, which is made by two wonderful ladies in Canada, and I've mentioned it before, I'll put it in the links down below. They mentioned that H&M, the fashion store, they take fabric scraps of any kind. So some places that you can take fabric, they only want usable pieces or they only want usable garments, whereas H&M will take anything that is made from fabric. So they will take little bits of thread, they will take the tiny bits, they will take clothes with holes in, anything. It just has to be textile in nature. And then they recycle it. Now there is a question, because at this point I am not clear where it then goes. So I imagine, in my imaginary world, that they take it, they sort it, some of it will be reused because some people will take usable clothing, Other bits will be shredded and remanufactured into things like insulation and stuff like that. And I do know that last worst case scenario, usually with stuff like that, it might be incinerated, which is not ideal. You can argue all day long whether landfill or incineration is better or worse. I'm not going to wade into that right now because it's far too big for me and I'm not well informed enough. But, you know, I suspect that some of it ends up there, but I know that not all of it ends up there, and I know that they are set up to take this kind of thing because they overtly say it's okay to give them that sort of thing. So rather than put it into a charity shop bag where you're just creating a problem for somebody, because again, I know people who work in charity shops, and if they get a bag full of rubbish, they don't have time a lot of the time, this is the truth, to look through it. So they'll throw the whole thing away, or they sell it to what they call the rag man who comes and buys stuff. And so, you know, they get a little bit of value out of it if they are able to sell it to a rag man, but generally it just gets thrown away. So it's not worth putting things in and just passing it along the chain to someone that you don't know is set up to take this stuff. So believe it or not, moving on, I'm quite shy. Yeah, I know, you probably don't believe that, but I am. And I can be quite uncertain of myself. So I was armed with this fact that I could take things to H&M. And then I became armed with several, there was 4 big plastic bags of scraps. And I had to take them to H&M. Now, luckily, even though I live in somewhere fairly remote, not remote, but not near a big city, we do actually have an H&M in our nearest town. But I was like, I'm going to walk in with these bags, and I thought, well, the bin wherever I've got to take them, I've probably hidden it way back. It's probably in the warehouse. I'm going to feel like a right idiot taking them in. So I put it off and I put it off until I had these 4 bags. So I'm talking to you in April. I did my first de-stash and cleared out in January. So this stuff's been accumulating for 3.5 months until I pluck up the courage and the fact that I'm starting to fall over the bags to take it to H&M. And I filmed going, because I thought I'd film the experience, a tiny little bit of film that I will show you now. And it was much easier than I thought. So all the anxieties in me about I would look a fool, they would laugh at me, they would tell me to go away, they would look at me and say, you've brought what? Luckily, it all floated away because we walked into the store and the recycling bin was right there by the tills. I went up to it, I popped my things in, and I walked out again. And laughed at how anxious I'd been at the whole process because it was so simple. So big thumbs up to H&M for having that and for making it really easy. So all my silly anxieties about what would happen and, oh, it'll all go wrong, I'll look an idiot, didn't come to pass. They made it simple, and I really appreciated that. So to finish up, I've been thinking about this quite a lot, as you can tell, think about lots of things. There was a programme on BBC Radio 4, which is a UK radio station, best radio station in the universe, Total Speech Radio, and it was a series that's called Costing the Earth, and they did a programme very recently about synthetic fabrics and the impact on the environment, and it was a take on it that I'd never heard before. So I've heard little bits about manufacturing, and I started this video saying this was a big subject, and it is, and I'm not going to go there right now. But this was a take I'd never heard before, and it was some scientists that have been doing research about the microfilaments that come off synthetic fabrics that then go into the watercourses of the world, so rivers, lakes and the oceans, and they pollute the oceans. So yeah, it was somewhat of a depressing listen because it was yet another angle that we need to be mindful of. And this sort of stuff can make you feel really powerless, can't it? But if you don't know what you don't know, you can't change anything. So you have to take, or I feel, you've got to take that attitude rather than to just be weighed down and horrified by everything. You need to look at, okay, well, yet again it's worse than we thought, but at least now we know. And there's been a lot of awareness raising in the UK at least, and hopefully worldwide, about microplastics recently, and a lot of that conversation has been about solid plastics, whereas this was about the filament, so the sort of lint you get out of the dryer, the stuff that's not filtered out of the dryer, and how it goes into the environment. So, and also about how people are working out how to stop things shedding or how to create systems that capture more of it. So, you know, there are people who are doing the right thing and who are working really hard to solve the problem. If you have access to Radio 4, it, as I said, it's a radio thing, so I think it's available worldwide, and of course there will be a link down below. It's well worth a listen. It's a great series anyway, not normally about fabric, but this time it was. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you all being here. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. If you want to get the notifications of when I upload videos, which for the record is Tuesdays and Saturdays, then just click the bell on my subscription page. If you would like to watch my destash videos, you'll be able to watch them just here. And if you'd like to watch another video from my channel, you'll be able to watch it up here. Other than that, I will see you really soon. Bye for now.